Thank you.
Hi, am I audible?
You
Hi.
are.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. So good to see so many people right here. I'm excited.
We're so glad to have you. So,
Happy to be.
Unmesh, we wanted to start by just finding out a little bit about your background.
So, as in, how did I get started with Photoshop?
Yes.
So I started when I was about 8 years old. Actually, my father was the one who he brought in our family's first computer. Interestingly, he was having some issues with his job and he was looking for a different job. Both my parents are actually artists, so they paint on canvas, not digitally. So, as you know, being an artist is not a full-time job. They have to keep other jobs as well to keep things going. So the other jobs were not helping him well financially. So he wanted to learn Photoshop to be able to create a different kind of job, a different kind of career. So he brought in our family's first computer. He introduced me to Photoshop when I was just 8 years old. And it just got me started. I started playing Photoshop just like a game since then. And it's been, I don't know if I tell you how many years, you're going to guess my age, but anyway, it's been so many years since then.
Well, let's have fun. Let's have some fun and guess the age.
What do you
No, go
think?
ahead.
It's fine. It's fine. It's public information. So anyway, I got started with it, and I used to do fun stuff like playing with my family photos, playing with my vacation photos. Um, just at about 3 or 4 years old, my father handed me that Kodak camera that we used to have back then with the films on. Didn't have a lens. It was just a fixed camera that you would take photos in. I used to take photos with that, and we had a good collection of family photos. And I just used to have fun with it. Maybe change the heads, make them big, make them small, change the clothes, turn my relatives green, place the head of my sister, cousin to my brother, and do all that kind of fun stuff. And that's how it all got started. And I got serious actually in college when I was studying mass communication and advertising. So in my second year of college, learning Photoshop for me was very difficult because back then there was no internet when I got started. All I had to do was learn it through trial and error. And when I did get access to internet, it was so expensive that I had to think before clicking on any video because it was charged per data, right? So I thought that the future students shouldn't have so much issues learning Photoshop, and also courses were expensive back then, not so much on YouTube. So that is why it all started with teaching my classmates and creating YouTube videos for them. And it's been 7 years since.
Thank you.
Well, that's exciting. I wanted to jump in just a little bit, and I know there are several of us on here currently on the live Zoom that were there at the beginning when you so graciously accepted our invitation to North Carolina, and we are just beyond excited to have you. I wanted to ask you, currently, we're in the process of really marketing to our up and coming creatives through our universities in North Carolina.
Mhm.
And tell me, I feel like they will just be in the possible right in the education, in the mix of like the current learning in a lot of different programs. Why, or tell me why they would want to come other than, some influencer, they want to see you. Of course, they want to learn from all your expertise, but why would you say what would you say to them, and why would they want to come to the 2-day workshop in person?
Photoshop has become such an integral tool that it becomes indispensable in whatever you do. Whatever visual there is to do, Photoshop plays an integral part of it, no matter what, whether you're into photography, whether you're into design, even if you have to upload a passport size photo of you in a website that asks you to, reduce the resolution to this, size to this, how do you figure that out? Even those simplest of things require Photoshop. And even if you have a little knowledge of Photoshop, you, no matter what field you are in, it's going to help you no matter what. And especially if you are in the visual field, it's going to help you a lot. Also, we need to understand the concepts of Photoshop. That is more essential because many a times whenever we are learning a new software, sometimes we learn just enough as much as we need, and that's all right. But if we know the concepts, we can do whatever we want. Let's say you want to add a lower third to a video, you're doing a video for the first time. You just want to add a simple lower third, and you have to search for, okay, so how do I add a lower third in Adobe Premiere Pro? And there will be videos, and you would have to exact copy those steps, and it would be confusing. The video that you watch and what you do are entirely different, and you don't know what the heck is happening. So, but if you know the concepts, if you know why we do what we do in Photoshop, you can create your own step. And that's what I think is the most essential thing about learning Photoshop. If you just get the concepts, you can do whatever you want, whatever it is visually that you want. You were talking about young people from college. A lot of them are into social media. A lot of them want to be content creators. And without Photoshop, it's one of those also impossible things to do. Whatever you do inside of content creation, whether it's creating images, elements for videos, whether it's creating video thumbnails, you need Photoshop. So without Photoshop, it's just impossible. Whatever you do, visually, actually, at least.
Okay, that's exciting. We have a lot of people who are at different levels. Of course, we have beginners all the way through who, some of us think we're advanced, but I know we're really not. What do you think would be the entry point? I know we're going to give a little bit of information as far as
Hmm.
how to prep for day one. What
Hmm.
do you think the entry level? What things do they need to know? Or tell me what we're going to dive into on Thursday, July 19th, and what is going to go through. Can you take us through an overview?
Absolutely. So, the first thing is it's important knowing the basics once you come in. So we're going to be sharing a resource that's going to take people through 8 or 10 videos or even more that can you can skim through those videos, and even if you watch the first 2 or 3 videos, you're going to get a hang of Photoshop. There is no doubt of it, and we will share that link with you. So once you have that set, once you know what tools are, how the interface is, and it's going to be fun. It does sound boring, but in all of those videos and resources and also these sessions, we're going to go through real world examples in all of those scenarios. Whether we are learning, let's say, a particular tool, let's say we are learning curves, and there are 5 or 6 applications of curves. And for each of those applications, we're going to go through some real world examples. And those real world examples not only help you figure out how to create things, how to improve things, or how to fix things, but also those real world examples help you when you come across a problem that you don't know how to fix. Only real world examples can do that. So anyway, once you have your basics clear, on the first day, we're going to be covering the core techniques required for retouching, color grading, and compositing. So when it comes to those core techniques, and these core techniques will help them on day 2. These core techniques can be of the concept of curves, how curves and levels are different, what are gradient maps, how you can use it, and not just what are they and learning the theory of it, but also creating some fun stuff with it that you can apply today. And also, what is retouching? How do we approach it? What to do after what? Because there can be a lot of steps and it can be very confusing. And different approaches to color grading. And then besides compositing, retouching, and color grading, we'll also be focusing on workflows. So workflows can sometimes become very complicated, very long, but we're going to be learning ways to automate it to the best of its ability. As photographers or as any professional, we understand that time is of the essence. So, how do we create a workflow that works the best for us? We can also learn things like droplets in Photoshop, where all you have to do, not even open Photoshop. If you have a folder of 100 photos, just drag it to an icon. It automatically opens Photoshop and processes all of your 100 photos. So little secrets like that we're going to be covering on day 1. And day 2 will be building up on it, and we're going to be covering some new things as well as we build up on it. So advanced techniques in high-end retouching. So if you have a little more time, if you want to create that magazine quality retouching result, if you are creating that cover image for you, that is going to be covered in day 2. And also color grading, advanced color grading. How do we approach it? What are the things we do? What are the combinations we can make? And then when we create compositing, how do we create that light? How do we paint that light? And how do we make that match? And along with that, real world challenges, and then
Oh, I'll see you soon.
also we're going to be introducing AI as well.
Good.
So
Woo,
yeah,
that's awesome.
that's going to be
Can you
day
show us
2.
the new AI,
New, excuse me?
the AI on Photoshop?
Sure. AI in Photoshop is not just limited to, selecting an area and filling that up, but it is much more than that. I have some examples for you today if you want to see.
That would
Yeah.
be great. And then I think Annie is going to take some questions if anybody has other questions. So let's watch this first.
Sure. So do you want to take questions now?
And no, go ahead and show us some examples. That would be great.
Sure. Okay. All right, let me see. Let me find that for you. All right. Let's start with color grading, and I'm going to share my screen right now with you. Just a moment. Just want to make sure you're able to see it. Okay. All right. Can you see my screen right now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. So as you can see in this image, there is, it looks very plain. It doesn't look very exciting. It's fantastic. It's a nice composition. So as you can see, I've added a lot of layers to it, right? First, we removed this distraction. When it comes to image editing, we figure out what is the biggest problem? What is it that I have to fix? You fix the big problems first, and then you go into the smaller problems. That is the approach that I recommend taking. And then we added a ton of layers and ton of random layers. Some are for retouching, some are for, enhancing the image. As you can see, just with these layers, we enhanced it a bit, made the eyes a little bit more poppy right here. So all of these add a lot. And on top of that, we then started adding some adjustments. By the way, this is one of the examples that I was preparing for this very session with you. So anyway, we add all of these and it turns into something amazing. Now, the thing is, how do we figure out what to add after what? And again, before, after, how do you figure that out? And that is the approach that we are going to learn. Now, I can tell you what to do. Okay, first create a curve, move it this much, move it that much. Then create a hue saturation adjustment layer, move it that much. Then add a gradient like this, move it that much. But that wouldn't really answer the question. We need to understand how to think in Photoshop so that you can do all of this yourself. So that is going to be my goal for you. For example, even right here, if you know the concept, you can move stuff around like this. It's on the screen. You can move the light around according to your preferences. You can do a lot of things real time. So understanding the concepts, understanding the approach, once you do that, you will know what to do yourself. You wouldn't have to depend on anything else. So this is a part of, understanding color grading. Then let's take a look at something like, let me remove that. All right, sorry. So let's take a look at something like gradient maps. Now, gradient maps is a very simple adjustment. For example, it just maps the colors of highlights and shadows. So you can choose whatever color you want in the highlights, whatever color you want in the shadows. And this is something you can do with gradient maps. For the highlights, I've chosen light purple. For the shadows, a darker shade of purple. This is fine. This is fantastic. But how can you use it in the real world in a unique way? Well, you can use something like this as a background for your website, as a background for your album, and then maybe add some text. But even then, it's not very exciting. You can have the text in a way that it's behind the ball, so you can mask it out. Great, but still, it's not looking like it's not standing out. So what if we remove this effect from the ball? So we remove that. Now it is standing out. On top of that, what if we can do more? What if we can add a shadow a little bit right here? So now we can do that. And this is just getting started. This is just getting to figure out what we can do and what we cannot do. Now, speaking of AI, AI is not just, for example, limited to um, I would say just creating something or adding something or removing something that is impossible. AI also can do some essential things in Photoshop. For example, here's a shirt, as you can see. This is the original image. So it's all crumpled up, it's all gone. But as soon as I turn this on, It's all like it's ironed out, everything is fine and done. And this can easily be done with AI. I mean, it uses the same frequency separation layers, but all you have to do is to, sorry about that. All you have to do is just use the remove tool, which is a part of the new AI. And then let's say you want to remove this wrinkle, you just circle around it. That's all. It should be gone. There's one left. And once you turn it on, that wrinkle is gone. And all you have to do is to circle around the wrinkles. And this is how easily you get rid of most of them without any issues. And you still have all of the texture intact just the way it is. So as I told you, AI is not limited to just generative fill and all the things that you can generate, but it can also do other things as well. I have more examples for you. For example, we're going to be learning compositing. So I have two examples of compositing where we used AI and in the other one we didn't. So in compositing, we have a lot of things that we need to match. So let me turn all of it for you. Okay. I tried to place both of these images on top of each other, but they were not matching. So here's the background. Here is our subject. Not matching at all. Just with a simple curve right here. As you can see, if I turn it on, it starts to match. But still, it's something fake looking right here. Something is just not looking right. Um, as you can see, the subject has been captured with something like a telephoto lens, but the background is a wide angle. So we need to change the perspective here as well. So we changed it. But even now, something is missing because the original image was captured with a shallow depth of field. We need to make sure that the background also has a shallow depth of field. So we blurred it a little. On top of that, to bring everything together in any composite, we need to add some global effects that is applied both to the subject and the background. And we applied all these three adjustment layers and they start to match. So it's a step-by-step understanding the concept of how composites work, what are the things we need to keep in mind, and then exactly how to do it, that is what you can figure out. But once you understand the concept, that's all you need. So I just wanted to pause and ask you, like, if you have any questions, about the session, or if you want to ask something, or if there's something that doesn't make sense to you, well, let me know.
I have a question.
Yes.
It's Karen Duty. When might we anticipate getting the preliminary videos so that we can start watching them? I am so afraid that I'm going to be way behind the curve because I'm still trying to figure out how to make a layer. So I
Okay.
need
Oh,
to.
no worries. No worries.
Okay.
So, I can actually give the videos right now. I have actually made a list of those beginner videos on YouTube that you can start watching right now. So I'm gonna be giving it's actually a playlist. So I'm gonna be giving the links to my email contact, maybe to Anne or
Mhm.
Lisa, and
Me?
we'll forward it for you. And you can do it after the call, or you want to do it whenever you want to do it. I can send it to you. So I can send it to you right away after this call, and then you can distribute it. And
Perfect.
so
I'll make sure it gets out to everyone. Thank you.
cool. That's all. All right. What else do I wanted to share? I also wanted to share that you can do unique stuff with lighting as well, and retouching can sometimes be complicated, sometimes easy. So we will also cover all of this in day 1 and day 2 of our sessions. By the way, this is created with AI. Whoops, I'm sorry about that. Okay. This is created with AI. The background is created with AI. Sometimes what happens is you can tell AI to generate the background in the newer versions of Photoshop. So in the new Photoshop beta, you can actually remove the background with one click and generate it automatically with AI with another click. Anyway, back to this. So in this case, I have retouched it very slightly before, after. And with retouching, the less you do, the more impact that you can have with it, the better. So here's the before, here's the after. But after the retouching, we do realize that there are little, there's this green color cast all around the image. And we need to figure out a way to kind of select that. So if we understand how hue saturation works and how we can use hue saturation to target that specific colors, we can easily do that. But then again, this is something that is very hard, or actually mostly impossible to do in any other applications where you just have the sliders like Lightroom or Camera on one. This is something only Photoshop can be a master at, and that is just with one layer, it takes away all that green. Before, after. As you can see that if I go to the, it's actually in yellow group. If I go here, it's targeting that area. I'm just increasing so you can see. It's automatically targeting that area. And I have the precision to, target any color that I want, just like so. For example, I'm targeting this, and I have the full control of adjusting it to my liking, decreasing the saturation, and it just goes away. So we'll also be learning how to cover or how to fix real world issues like this on day 2. Also, as we understand the concepts in day 1, we're going to be also learning unique ways to control the lighting in day 2. Now, usually you would think that something like a black and white adjustment layer is fine for converting this image to black and white, like so. Let's say we create a black and white adjustment layer. Sometimes even I lose where it is at. Okay, so this is okay, but it's kind of boring. It's not as contrasty, it's not as punchy. But we learned that we just understood that with gradient maps, we can figure out what color is going to be in the highlights, what color is going to be in the shadows. So if we simply add a gradient map with white on the right-hand side, black on the left-hand side, right-hand side is for the highlights, left-hand side is for the shadows. If we turn it on, it creates a much better black and white. And what makes it even better is that we will learn how to add more controls. If I click here, I can add the punch, control the light. So if I want more shadows, I can control it this way. If I want more shine, I can control it this way. If I want if I want more shine in the highlights, I can control it this way. Take it away, control the shine. It gives you complete control over the light, and then you can create as many sliders as you want. Now, here's even the best part. Right now, we were just converting it to black and white. But what if you wanted the same control of light with a color image? Simple. Just change the blend mode to something that doesn't affect the colors, like luminosity. And now, before, after, it's a completely different ball game. And now, if you go back here, you have the absolute controls to play with the light however you want. And then you can play with the shine and the light and keep it however you want. You want to make it soft, we can do it. You want to increase the impact, you can do it. You want to add more details in the highlights or shadows, you can do it. It just takes it a step forward. So once we understand the concepts in day 1, we're going to be covering advanced ways to controls and unique ways to control the lighting in day 2. By the way, coming to this image, this is some of the things I wanted to show. This compositing doesn't always have to be very, very complicated. Compositing can be as simple as changing the background. In this image, I've added a lot of layers for retouching. I'm going to share with you the before. Here's the before, and here is the after. The background has been changed, the subject has been retouched. And how do you figure out what to do next? After blemishes, then dodging and burning, fixing colors, frequency separation, and it looks very complicated, but trust me, I didn't memorize any of it. I didn't even figure out what to do after what. It is just freestyling. So once you understand the bigger problems in your photos and go slowly towards the smaller problems, that is the way to go. And that is the way, if you do it non-destructively, you'll find much more peace with it. So if I show you one by one, first we only worried about removing the blemishes. And by the way, don't judge my photo and my posing on this, because this is one of the very first photos I took maybe 6-7 years ago when I was just handed a professional camera in my hand. Then we did some dodging and burning, and we did dodging and burning in such a way that it doesn't affect the texture. So if you have a look, see that? So this is the professional retouching that we're going to be covering on day 2. And then we tried fixing the colors, frequency separation. As you can see, the backdrop was not good. I actually took this photo in a conference, so there were these, backdrops. In conferences, what happens? I think it was from Shutterfest, very, very old. And yeah, that's where I took it. I changed the backdrop. but this was not looking right, so I changed it again later. Then there's a lot of flyaway here that I took care of here. So as you can see, lots of these crosshairs, we took care of that. Anything that bothers you, you take care of that. That's all. You don't have to do so much, but if you have the time, you can go ahead. Now, changing backgrounds, again, doesn't have to be this complicated. I just brought in, sorry, this background. I'm going to change how it was, right? I just brought in this simple background. That's all. And simply changed the blend mode to soft light. And the background was changed, but something was, of course, looking off. It's over the subject as well. So we removed it. It was also one click to remove it from the subject. Photoshop now has automated tools to automatically do this. Now, once you do, the background should be a little blurred, right? So we added a little blur. And after we did that, we figured that the lighting is coming from the left-hand side. So it would be fun to have a little bit gradient lighting in the background as well. So we added that gradient light in the background as well, and it made it even better. So these would be the concepts that we're going to be learning on day 2 and several, many more. And that's what I wanted to share. I hope that makes sense.
Awesome. It's very exciting. Do we have any other questions about what he might be teaching?
I just have one question regarding what would you suggest people come with? What, as far as like, of course, their computer, will you be giving them samples or do they need to bring sample images? What would you want them to be having with the iPhone?
So I can provide samples. The thing is, I'm going to be giving replays at the end of the class anyway. So let me make it. Okay, I'm sorry. For some reason, my Zoom is not showing up. Oh, I didn't stop sharing. Okay. All right. Okay, it's clear. So I am going to be sharing the replays after the end of the lesson, and the replays are going to have those practice files attached to every section of the videos. So it's not going to be an issue, but I haven't considered it. But if you want the practice files beforehand, I can create a folder in Google Drive and share the link with you so that you have an access to it. So if there's a demand for it, I can easily do it. It's not a big deal. But do know that many of these images are licensed or copyrighted or mine or somebody else's. You can use it for your own personal use and follow along, but you just cannot publish it or post it. That's all.
Okay. We had another question from Anne. She is our executive director and she's kind of in and out and is going to be in your class, and I think you kind of answered this question, but she wanted to know if she misses part of it, are there going to be step-by-step instructions on maybe what she missed?
Yes, at the end of the lesson, if you are an attendee of that class, you're gonna get that replay. So, so what happens is as I prepare for any class, I record it before the class as well as I'm doing a slight rehearsal, and might give it away at the end. So it's gonna be easy.
So will you be bringing anything from Adobe? Will you be giving us some hints? I know you have an amazing sponsor who has helped get you to North Carolina. Will be having any access to those or getting any fun things?
Well, as far as the sponsors go, the best that they have asked me, I'm going to be honest with you, that they can give the highest discount on the internet. That's what they can give so far. And as far as Adobe is concerned, I haven't talked to them about this one. But I guess I'm not sure though. I cannot confirm anything I cannot have asked before. So if you had told me before, I would have asked and then confirmed.
No, it's fine. We are just curious and certainly excited you're going to be with us. So, Annie, do you see any other questions?
Let's see, we have one other comment. Nope, just the yes, please from Linda.
Right.
Luna, did you have something?
Yes, I did. So Hi, Unmesh.
Hi.
So, my question is that after attending this session, we are going to be absolutely overwhelmed with information because there's going to be just so much packed together.
Mhm.
No matter how much we try following the steps, invariably, I can talk about myself, I get stuck, things don't work the way it's supposed to, and I'm just frustrated at that point. So my question is there a way we can connect with you post the session while we're actually implementing the work, so that if we get stuck somewhere, we can get assistance from you in some way?
So this plan is not fixed, but I'm going to tell you what is possible. Of course, during the session and after the session, you can come to me and ask questions. But I do understand that when you're implementing something like this can be, a bit challenging. So what I am thinking of, and this is just what I'm thinking of, is that I am planning to start a program where I do a Q&A session monthly. So in that program, you can be a part of that program where I do a monthly Q&A session, and you can submit your questions and I can answer it for you. And for the attendees, we can have an offer for that program. I have not finalized anything, but I'm going to be talking about it in the section. And meanwhile, um, I answer questions through my Patreon, but that is fine. But after the session, I'm going to be talking about that program. It's going to be a much easier way. And also and there's going to be something special for the attendees as well, very special. And either way, during the sessions and even after the session a little bit, as long as we can stay there, I will be happy to answer your questions.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I think Leah had a question.
Yes. So what type of computer do you use? Are you Mac or are you something else? And like, what do you recommend as far as good specifications for a
I
computer?
don't want to create a fight here
Right.
between and Windows, because that is something that, okay, so I'll tell you my history. I got started, again, I started with Photoshop in 2008, but I was introduced to computers 4 or 5 years old when I was. So it was Windows through and through my entire life. But what happened was somebody suggested me as I started making an income, a little bit of income in this career. Somebody suggested that I should get a Mac. It's the best. So I got one Mac, about a MacBook, 2017 MacBook. Um, and the problem started from there. I destroyed the Mac 3 times in just 6 months. Once the screen went bad, then the motherboard went bad, and I don't know what the reason was. It made me leave Mac. And then I switched back to Windows. I created some custom built PCs. And if you're looking at Windows, Puget Systems is a good website to get Photoshop workstations from. It's a US based company, so you can easily get that. Anyway, fast forward to last year, there was this whole talk about the Mac Studio, like how fast and how awesome it was. And even last year's when the new MacBooks came with the MagSafe. So I got that, and even at an affordable price, I mean, not affordable, but a reasonable price. It was such a solid machine that didn't move back to Mac, but I had Windows as my main computer and MacBook as a computer that I would carry everywhere. But last year, since November, I have completely switched to the Mac Studio, and so far it's been amazing. One of the things you'll see with Mac is that everything works perfectly. Just like my monitor, the Apple Studio display, having my voice echoed.
Can y'all please mute? Thank you.
Okay, so just saying that simple things like in a MacBook, you'll find the audio quality to be best. As a photographer, you don't ever have to worry about whether the colors I'm seeing is going to be accurate or not. How often have you seen people on a MacBook Pro worry about whether the calibration is okay or not? It's very less, unless you're super deep into that stuff. So I would recommend, from my how many ever years of using computers, probably 18, I would recommend a good Mac Studio, or if you're looking for something as a as a workstation. If you want something that you need the portability of, a MacBook Pro would be good as well.
That brings another question. In terms of the class, do you recommend we have some sort of tablet that we work from?
So I'm going to be explaining the concepts. It's up to you. You can take notes, you can follow along. And if Lisa says, I'm sorry, Annie, I'm just getting confused. Maybe there's one Anne, there's Annie.
There's an
Uh,
Annie.
Yes, I'm sorry. So if I get an email, if you guys send me an email that you need the practice files, you will have the practice files before the session. So you can follow along accordingly. That's up to you. But I don't know how the spaces are going to be, where the people be able to keep their laptops nicely? How is it going to be? That I don't know. So if they have a good place to, place their laptops, or they can comfortably place their laptops on their laps, fine. I'm absolutely okay with following along, because I'm going to be going on a considerably slower speed so that everyone can understand.
From a setup standpoint, I just wanted to let everybody know, whether you're joining now or later, we do intend to have full classroom setup with tables and enough outlets. We will have power sources for everybody to have a computer if they do want it. So
then if that is the case, I would highly recommend that you bring your laptop, and I will have the practice. Send me a reminder. Please send me a reminder. I'm so sorry. I tend to forget. So please send me a reminder, and I'll have the practice files before the session so that we can all follow along. It will be a fun class.
That's perfect. And so I don't think we have any other questions. Annie, do you see any?
Nope, I don't see any other questions.
Well, we have quite a few treats for you as well when you come. We're excited to get you involved in our entire weekend.
That would be fun.
I'm sure everybody will be very excited, to have some bonus time with you possibly. So anyway,
sure.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us. We really, really appreciate you spending the last 40 minutes with us.
Sure, it was fun talking to you. Those are some good photos, by the way, in the background. Nice work.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so
Have a
much.
great day. I should say have a good day.
Thank you
have a
so
great
much.
night.
Have a
Can't
good
wait.
Right.
No, it's late there. Thank you for staying up and doing this for us.
I'm used to it now. Thank you. Have a good
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.